Toronto. VK on the beat. Check. I'm in Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm from Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm in Toronto like we wanna get the city love. My city love me back for my city love. I'm in Toronto.
Welcome to episode 1634 of Toronto Mic'd. Proudly brought to you by Great Lakes Brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery who believes in supporting communities, good times, and brewing amazing beer. Order online for free local home delivery in the GTA. Palma Pasta. Enjoy the taste of fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees from Palma Pasta in Mississauga and Oakville. RecycleMyElectronics.ca. Committing to our planet's future means properly recycling our electronics of the past. Building Toronto's Skyline, a podcast and book from Nick Ienes, sponsored by Fusion Corp Construction Management Inc. and Ridley Funeral Home, pillars of the community since 1921. Joining me today, returning to Toronto Mic'd, is the Honorable Marci Ien. Nice to meet you, Marci.
It's so good to see you in person because we were virtual last time, right? In 22?
So this was the great conversation last night. I was telling my wife that I had never met Marci Ien. And I feel like Marci Ien is a friend. Like, are we friendly? We're buds.
We're buds.
We've never met. And then my wife said, well, she's been on the program. Like, you talked for over an hour one-on-one. And I said, well, that was like via Zoom.
Yeah.
And then she said, that counts as a meeting. So I need an MP to make the ruling here. Did I meet you?
No disrespect to your wife, but it's not the same. Meeting virtually is not the same as in person.
So we agree on that.
We agree.
What else do we agree on? Let's find out here. How is the prorogue treating you?
It's been busy, Mike. I sometimes think, how did I get all the work done, all the Ottawa work done, the committee work done, and everything else, and do everything that I'm doing now? It's meant spending a lot more time in my constituency of Toronto Centre, but the travel still continues, the ministerial work across the country. So it's been quite a busy time. I can't believe that we're heavily into February now.
You know what it's like? It's like when you have a schedule, your daily schedule is just meeting after meeting after meeting. And you're like, well, when do I get my work done? And if I'm in all these meetings. So now you get a chance to get some work done because they've canceled the meetings.
They've canceled some of the meetings. Some of the meetings take place virtually, so those still happen. But it's meant a lot more time in community, and that's been great.
Well, this is great that you're here in the basement.
I like it.
You know what? Thank you. Because
it's very cool.
Many moons ago, I was producing Ralph Ben-Mergie's podcast.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know you produced Ralph.
Yeah, it's called Not That Kind of Rabbi. And the guest was Kathleen Wynne.
Yeah.
Who was still an active politician at the time. And Ralph said to me, Mike, I can't ask our premier to visit your basement. He said, I refuse to have your... as if Kathleen Wynne was too good. Like, this would be slumming
and
it.
I bet Kathleen loved it.
So then, anyways, we ended up doing it at a storefront studio at Queensway in Islington. But then I did have Kathleen Wynne on my show. And of course, I'm doing it down here. And she said she would have had no problem.
Absolutely
and
not.
she said she loved it. So I'm glad to hear you're okay slumming it down here at Toronto Mike's basement.
It's great down here. It's cozy.
It's cozy. That's what a real estate agent would put in the listing.
And there's lots to look at. I'm just looking at all the things.
You can shout out sponsors as you wish. But here, let me tell the listenership that even though we didn't meet, we had a one-on-one. And I remember you had somebody on the Zoom, and I think I hinted that we didn't need that person on the Zoom, and you politely asked the person to leave. So it was a one-on-one Zoom. It just feels weird. I don't mind there being another person in the room, but it's weird when there's somebody on the Zoom.
Yeah. Because it's different. It's different in person than it is virtually.
And then I was like, what are they there for? Like, this is not going to be edited.
Just to monitor.
To make sure I don't rough you up or whatever. Yeah. But let me tell the listenership, if they want the initial visit where we do we focus more on your media career at the time, but it was episode 1022, and here's the description I wrote at the time. In this 1022nd episode of Toronto Mike is joined by the Honorable Marci Ien. Okay, I'm stopping for a moment. How does it feel that now the word honorable gets appended to your name when people introduce you? Like, how does that make you feel?
I still look around and think that they're talking to somebody else. It's never felt right.
But you feel almost like, no, just call me Marci. Like, do you have any,
I
like,
say that.
Okay.
I actually say that. Marci's good. I'm fine with Marci.
Okay, because I might have to switch it up. But
You can switch it up, please.
no one's ever introduced me and said, here's the Honorable Toronto Mike, because I don't have such a title. But you have Honorable as an MP. You get that title. If you're no longer
You
an
get
MP,
honorable as a minister.
as a minister.
Yes, as
What
a
are you
minister.
called if you're just an MP and you're not a minister?
You're a member of parliament.
Okay,
So
you don't get
MP, it would be MP Marci Ien.
You know what?
The honorable comes in with the ministerial portfolio.
And if you're leader of your party and if you're prime minister,
The
you're
right honorable. That's right.
Okay, I'm going to take notes here.
Yes.
I'm going to pass the
Yeah,
quiz.
so
at
it would
the
be
end
the
of
right
this.
honorable Justin Trudeau.
We also talked about, because Toronto Mike likes to talk to you media people. We talked about your years, and this is going to come up in a question in a moment. But,
Okay.
So heads up. But your years on Circle Square, so we'll talk about that in a minute, as a reporter at CHCH.
Yes.
Your move to CTV,
Yes.
becoming the first black woman in Canada to co-host a national morning show.
Yes.
Amazing. Why Canada AM ended. That's a documentary unto itself. I
It
feel.
is, isn't it?
Jeff,
There's a lot there.
I mean, Rod Black, Jeff Hutch. I don't know. There's so many Canada AM.
Lisa LaFlamme.
Oh my God.
Valerie, Dan, Seamus.
You almost all ended up in politics there. Okay.
I know.
Oh, your work on The Social.
Yes.
Why you left television for politics. And we talked for over an hour. So if everybody wants to go back and hear that stuff, it's episode 1022. But you're back for one reason and one reason only, because I need to know you were a former Canada AM host, and I need to know what happened at breakfast television. Why did Sid Sixero and Meredith Shaw get canned? What's going on?
I wish I knew. Just this morning, it's interesting you asked that. Just this morning, I was on Instagram, and Meredith had posted for the first time since everything happened. And I thought, I've got to call her. I need to give her a call.
Did you call her?
I haven't called her.
Let's call her live on the program.
But I won't do that to her. But I will. She's a sweetie and she's a friend. And she was just talking about the notes that she's gotten and the people that have reached out. Media's like this, Mike. You just never know what's coming. And I think that's just it. The landscape's changing, and you never know what's going to happen from day to day. And every day you're there is a good one because you're still there.
But that's a terrible way to live.
It is. It's
like you're always looking over your shoulder.
But this is why, most media people have side hustles. They've got different things going on. You'll notice that, right? You've got people that have full-time jobs in media, and they've got podcasts like yours. They've got shows. They've got brand things.
You need a plan B.
You need to have a plan B. Everybody's working with a plan B right now.
How much notice did you get when Canada AM was shuttered? Like, how much heads up?
A couple of weeks.
Okay. So I don't think they got that long, actually. I get the idea they might have been tapped on the shoulder on like a Friday after the show or something.
And that's
maybe.
hard.
And like, that's it. But it's so, and again, I actually don't even watch breakfast television, even though I do daily correspond with Ann Romer.
Do you?
I've been chatting with her just this past week. Yeah.
She's great. Say hi to her for me.
Oh my God, I will. She's at the Region, which is a station in York Region. She's still there. But I do think it's sudden for a listener if you have these two, if Sid Sixero and Meredith Shaw, and Meredith's also slummed it in the basement. Sid somehow didn't want to slum it. I don't know. I'm working on that. But it is very sudden for the listenership to have this routine pulled from them.
I think that's why, when AM ended.
Viewership, I mean.
When AM ended, so many people reached out. Yeah. People still reach out. They do. They still reach out. They still talk to me when I'm on the subway about AM and it ending and how they watched for years. So I can only imagine, and this is what Meredith was talking about, just the outpouring and people asking why and are you okay and what happens now and all
you don't know
things.
what's next, right? And
you don't know what's next.
The replacement show for Canada AM was far more entertainment focused. Like I feel like Canada AM was had more serious news components to it.
And I won't mince words. It was also younger, right? And so
that's the real talk you're
right.
Here for.
That's the real right. It was also younger. So whether it was trying to reach a younger demographic or whatever it was definitely that.
Okay, speaking of younger,
yes,
Jose heard you were coming on. Now again, we are going to get serious. I have a minister, member of parliament. There's a lot I've been thinking about. I'm donning my Canada jersey for this recording here.
Okay.
Jose though says we need a Circle Square reunion. So just a little taste. I know we're just going to touch on this because we did it all in the first episode, but a little taste here.
Do not necessarily reflect those of the global television network.
Happy people come together, let your light shine, sharing love with one
What are you thinking about Marci Ien as you listen to this in the headphones?
45 years ago is what I'm thinking. 45 years ago. And the early mornings we taped at 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays. And so for the bulk of my childhood, it was getting up. Ironically, AM would come later in life, but it was getting up early. And that was family. You know, it was being with my family, outside of family, and spending more time often with them than my own. Those were good times.
How many years were you on Circle Square?
6, from 10 to 16.
And I feel like maybe in succinctly explain to the youngins out there, what the hell are we talking about?
I know, they're like, what?
Like
What
Circle Square? What is he doing here?
What show is that? It was based on kids that were best friends, and we had kind of a clubhouse. And every week, one of the kids would have a problem. So it was either, you know, a bully at school, or somebody that wasn't a friend, or lying or cheating. And there would be this friendly janitor at the school they all went to. His name was Dirk, and they would tell Dirk their problem. So-and-so was bullying me, or so-and-so was pressuring me to do something I don't want to do. I still remember smoking as a 12-year-old on that show, because it was about peer pressure,
right,
and having to learn how to hold a cigarette. That's beside the point. But
so that's how you got addicted.
That's how I got addicted. This is where it started. But it was sharing with Dirk the issue that kid had, and then that issue would turn into a story, and it would be kind of an acting piece that all of us would do, and then there would be kind of a moral at the end of the story. The kid will feel better, and we also cut a record or two. We used to sing as well.
I need a copy of these albums.
Oh my gosh.
Do we have Marci Ien's voice on these albums?
Yes.
Okay, we need.
Yes.
I got more music for you later here. I know we got a full hour together, and I got a lot of ground I want to cover. But I want to say, if you have that on vinyl,
I have it on vinyl. I just was in my basement the other day, and there are 2 albums. I looked at my younger self and went, oh my gosh, Mars.
Any chance, 2 things I'm thinking of here before we move on from Circle Square. You know, you're only here to talk Circle Square. You know that, right?
Okay, so you're obsessed.
You haven't heard this program. I have many obsessions, but Circle Square, one of the many. But one question I have, any chance for Jose that we have some kind of a Circle Square reunion?
You know what's interesting? While at CTV, Stacey Spalding, who is one of my castmates, we worked together in the same building because she became a director. Oh. So she was directing at BNN. She was filling in on other shows as well. So we actually met up. She stayed in the business. Another one of the cast members became a writer. He lives in New York, Adam Sternberg. I believe he was with the New York Times, I believe. Excellent writer, novelist as well. So there's some people that I've seen over the years and some I haven't. It would be great to have a reunion, though. Danny Jane Tollefson. Danny Jane lives in Mississauga. I think she has her own business as well.
Okay, look at these successful Circle Square graduates.
We didn't end up, I know.
And one might end up prime minister at some point.
Oh,
so
gosh.
you never know.
Listen to you.
We'll call it now. Okay. The other quick thing is I'm seeing all these nostalgic, particularly for Gen X. And maybe because I am Gen X, so it's like that's my sweet spot. But lately, many documentary series or documentaries seem to be coming out that kind of focus on some piece of Gen X nostalgia. Circle Square needs a documentary.
You think?
Yeah. I mean, for an audience of me plus maybe 5 people, but I think that's enough, right? Let's get this done here, okay? So I'll just plant that seed. And Andrew Lewis, listener of the program, heard that Marci Ien was returning. Finally, I would get to meet her and take a photo by Toronto Tree. Don't leave too quickly. We got to do that photo.
What is Toronto Tree?
So Toronto Tree, Dave Thomas gave it that name from SCTV. Dave Thomas.
Yes.
It's the tree in front of my house where every guest who visits in person, I take a selfie with me and the guest after the recording.
Okay, love it.
And that's the picture that follows the episode forever.
Love it.
Very important, Marci. So we do that.
What an honor.
It is an honor because it's better than a freaking screen cap of a Zoom. Like, I feel so soulless when I'm taking the screen cap of the Zoom and I'm like, where's my Toronto Tree photo?
What kind of tree is Toronto Tree?
What do they call those things? The crab apple or whatever.
Oh, is it? Like it bears fruit?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't eat that fruit, but
it bears something.
And it sometimes bears that fruit like really early. Like you're like, oh, it's August and I'm raking, so it's kind of sick, I think. But so a lot of snow on the ground, right?
Yes.
You're navigating the city. You live in Toronto. I was thinking I was walking my kid to school and I'm climbing these snowbanks just across the street on like major intersections, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, Does anybody mess up and think that they don't know who to call? So they're like, I know that's a city councilor that I should call, or 311 really, but city councilor, if I'm going to escalate this to an elected official, that's my going to be responsible for snow removal. It's municipal. But does anyone mess up and call your office?
Absolutely.
So does the MP get calls about like snow removal?
Absolutely. Snow removal, things in apartment buildings,
Right.
all sorts of things. Because people
Garbage
don't
pickup.
but people just don't quite understand. Right? And I understand why.
Yeah,
I
we all
mean,
need like a grid or something we hang on our
this
fridge
is
or
what
whatever.
the municipal government does.
Right.
This is what the provincial government does. Here's what
Okay,
the
so let me
feds
look
are
at this. Who's responsible for bike lanes?
Municipal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you tell Doug Ford that? Just next time you see him. Just let him know, because I feel that's municipal for sure.
It is absolutely municipal.
You know, Ed Keenan and I were talking about that the other day. Is there anything more municipal than bike lanes? But okay, that's not what you're here for, because you're federal. But Andrew Lewis says, and again, we're going to get serious in a moment, but Andrew Lewis says, please ask her if she remembers after I broke my ankle in humiliating fashion on the opening kickoff of the 1987 Rugby OFSA semifinals, sitting with me on the Agincourt collegiate sidelines for the rest of the game. Do you have any memory of a guy who couldn't play? He broke his ankle on the opening kickoff. This is Rugby OFSA Championship, 1987. You're sitting with him. He went on to tell me that you were lovely and he has great memories of this. Do you have any memory of this?
Oh my gosh, I don't. But hi, Andrew.
Agincourt
There goes my
Collegiate.
Agincourt. Those were the days. I want to ask Andrew, and maybe you can ask whether he played with Winston Littleton, because I think it was that team.
Well, Andrew and I are connected on Blue Sky. And,
Okay.
so
I
you're
kinda
your
don't
social media person. What about Marci on Blue Sky? You want to come on that? Okay, it's open. Yeah.
It's actually been on my to-do list, so
What if we did it
Here it
today?
comes.
It's not like it takes a long time.
Here
right?
it comes. Blue
Okay,
Sky's
so,
coming.
Only because a lot of us reasonable people have left the app formerly known as Twitter, now known as X, because it's full of Nazis. Like, what if we all...
It's a little toxic.
I hate it. Like, I go into because I promote things like this, and I got to get out of there quickly because it's so just mean,
taxing
mean
on the
people
mental health.
yeah, it's just terrible.
Yep.
But Blue Sky, there's conversations happening, and we don't all agree, and there's just it's a open dialogue, and it feels like, oh, this is what Twitter used to be like before the Nazis showed up. What if Marci Ien had an official account on Blue Sky?
I don't see anything wrong with that.
Okay, another sale.
You heard it from Hanan,
Another
social
show,
media
okay.
director. Yeah.
I'm wearing my Canada jersey.
Yes, you are.
Will
it looks
you-
lovely on you.
Yeah, this is from the 2015 Junior Champions.
It's great.
This is their jersey. And will Marci Ien be watching
On Thursday?
tomorrow night? Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely, I'll be watching and cheering our boys on.
So let me ask you a question as Marci Ien, not as a member of parliament. How do you personally feel about Canadians booing the Star-Spangled
I
Banner
don't
at
like
sporting
it.
events?
I don't like it. I was at a Raptors game just the other night, and that was happening, and I didn't feel good. I don't think any anthem should be booed. I understand the sentiment.
Even, and again, this is a good segue because now we're going to get a bit serious. But
Yeah.
even though, and I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but even though the President of the United States of America is openly threatening our sovereignty,
That is one man, and one man is not an anthem. And I understand the sentiment, but I don't think that the anthem should be. I didn't feel good about it. It felt unnerving.
okay, let's talk about, because you're a member of the Liberal Party of Canada and
Yes.
you guys have a minority government still.
Yes.
We'll talk about what's going on everywhere. But how do you feel about your party's response to this, the threatened tariffs? And I mean, here we are talking to timestamp it. It's like February 19, and these deadlines are all in early March, I think. But maybe speak to this. I feel like Canadians need to hear from you right now. I personally carry this. I've been carrying it since he started this rhetoric. I don't feel comfortable. I don't find any of it funny, even a little bit. And I
No,
got a
it's
good
not.
sense of humor.
It's not funny. No, it's not funny, and it shouldn't be taken that way. And anybody who thinks it is doesn't understand the landscape. This is serious business. The Prime Minister has said as such, and you'll see this has been a Canada First approach. You see the Prime Minister, you see cabinet ministers, you see MPs, you see premiers, you see MPPs, municipal politicians coming together. It's quite the moment, isn't it? When we all come together as Canadians and say, hey, we're sovereign. We're not looking to be a 51st state. We love our country and we will stand. And The Prime Minister, the government has been working really, really hard, meeting with allied countries as well, and, responding in, I think, a more than appropriate way.
So look, we had that, pretty great speech by Justin Trudeau.
It was excellent.
I think it was pitch perfect.
Yeah.
Mild stumble out of the gates, and I'm like, maybe he's nervous or whatever. But then he rights the ship. It was really pitch perfect, I think. And then Trump moves the deadline at some point, and So should these tariffs actually get executed? And there's two. It's very complicated, I find, because there's one that's like I don't know if it's aluminum or steel, but there's a 25% on something with the automotive industry. But then there's the original 25% on everything. But
Seems to change every day, doesn't it?
right. But should he sign on the dotted line and with his executive orders, will the response that Trudeau promised us in that speech, they will come into effect when that happens?
Yes, and a fulsome response. Yeah, the Prime Minister didn't mince any words, and Canadians should know that their government will respond directly and will respond in a way that meets the seriousness of those tariffs.
And I know I was listening to you very closely there, and you were talking about like Canadians don't want this, and I almost feel like that language is almost too gentle. Like that's almost too soft. That language. It's a non-starter. This is not anything that Canada would ever agree. We are a sovereign nation, an independent nation, and being a part of America in any fashion, 51st state or Puerto Rico style colony, any such a manner, is completely a non-starter. I don't even like it when I see the agenda talking about what it would look like.
Yeah, no.
I get, my stomach turns. It's like, no, we're not talking about what it would look like. We're not going to talk about pros and cons. We're not going to talk about this at all because this is not happening. If you want us, get your military going, because that's what it would take to make Canada a part of the United States.
No, I hear you. It's not something to even look at or in hypotheticals. It's just this isn't happening. And here's why. The thing that I observe and that actually makes me feel a little bit better is they say, in tough times, that's when you see the best in people. People come together, and we're seeing that now. Because the one thing we can agree on as Canadians is that we love our country. And it's bringing us together in ways I haven't seen in a long time.
And one of those ways is, because I disagree with you on the booing of the national anthem.
Do you?
Where I'm pro-boo.
Are you pro-boo?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like this is a non-violent... I feel like Americans need to hear it. I'm simply like, just don't stand for their anthem. And I'm like, Americans, I don't think your average American tuning into the hockey game understands any of what's going on. I think they think this is kind of funny. And they have a leader who says stuff and it's not going to happen or whatever. Meanwhile, none of us are laughing.
No, we're not.
We're not laughing. And I feel like they need to hear it. Like they need to know that we're actually pissed about this. We're actually angry. I feel like it's something we could do.
When you're booing the anthem, though, you're booing the people. Right? Not just the president. And I like to believe that it's also about the people, right? Because you're saying a lot of people don't understand. Some of them do, right? And so you're booing the people, and people will take that to heart. People will think that you're insulting them and it's disrespect, which think it is. It is.
Intentional.
It is. Right? But why boo the people?
Because
boo the president. Boo the president all you want.
True. But the majority of voting people back in November voted for Donald Trump to be their president, and I feel like they're responsible for this. Because it's one thing if you, and I have American friends, I don't want to see anything happen to them, but they voted for this kind of chaos and this turmoil, and then it's sort of like...
Do you think they understood that he would be this quick out of the gate and do the things that he's done?
Well, he said, I feel like he told us who he was.
He did. I don't know that people believed him. People are in shock going, I can't believe he's done this. I can't believe, DEI, look at that. People getting deported, look at that. And people seem to be in shock. I'm not sure they know what they voted in.
If you're a trans person in the United States today, can you get refugee status in Canada if you're an American trans person?
Refugee status. It's interesting. It's interesting because the U.S. was never deemed a non-safe country, right? And we give refugee status to people that come from countries where their lives are threatened. This is a new one, Mike.
Well, this is a new one. I'm telling you, all the rules we've lived with are we're similar vintage here.
Yeah,
Marci.
we are.
This is uncharted territory.
It is uncharted
unprecedented.
territory.
I've been telling my kid, I got 4 kids, and a couple of them are
You've
rather
got 4
young.
kids? How old are your kids?
23, 20, almost 11. He's turning 11 soon.
Wow.
And almost 9. She
Oh,
turns 9
wow.
in March,
Wow.
actually. She's very excited, actually. And so the almost 9-year-old, 8-year-old is who I was walking to school, and I'm climbing these mountains of snow. And then we're a couple of days out from the snowstorm, and I'm thinking, I wonder if an MP's getting calls about the snow.
Yeah. Yeah, MPs are getting calls about the snow, and we've heard in Toronto it could be 3 weeks, which is,
Okay,
another
so
story
again,
in itself.
I feel like I need several hours with you, so I'm going to cook with gas here. But I'm wondering, well, John C. wrote the question, but I was going to ask it anyways,
Okay.
John C.
Hello,
okay?
John C.
Who are you, Marci, supporting in the Liberal leadership campaign, and why?
I am supporting Mark Carney in the Liberal leadership campaign, and it's Canadians are looking for a change, right? And he represents that change. But not only does he represent it, I had good conversations with him, and believe me, a former journalist, always a journalist.
Right.
We know how to ask questions. We know how to grill when we need to. But he just had the right responses, to the questions that I had. And so I was pleased to endorse him. And I also love what's happening right now. People seem to be engaged again in politics. Had 400,000 Liberals sign up, right? And we've got the debate coming up. That'll be interesting, so you can see all of the candidates. The candidates obviously all talented, but I really liked what Mark had to offer. I listened to constituents a lot too, and what they were telling me and what they wanted to see. And every last one of them was, we need change. We need change, and we need someone creative, and we need someone that's got the economic chops.
Let me speak for Mike, just regular guy at his basement in South Etobicoke, where the way because I do follow this pretty closely, and I have lots of conversations with interesting people like you. And I think I felt before the 51st state rhetoric
Yes.
by the President of the United States of America, it felt to me, and I had already accepted it, like you go through stages of grief or whatever, it felt like a foregone conclusion that the Conservative Party of Canada was going to win a majority government next time we go to the polls.
Do you still
I'm
feel that
speaking
way?
for myself. No, that's why I gave it the caveat before the 51st state rhetoric. So the way I feel, again, just an average citizen here, that since the 51st state rhetoric and the threats by Donald J. Trump, I feel that Canadians are fearful of making Pierre Poilievre the next Prime Minister of Canada. And I think that not that you would ever do this because it's the terrible reason, but you could almost send a thank you card to Donald Trump that he completely united this country. And I believe now with Mark Carney as the leader that there's an absolutely a dramatically less chance of Pierre Poilievre winning a majority government when we do finally go to the polls. In fact, I don't know how it'll fall out, but I could see Mark Carney winning another minority government. I think that this is a complete dramatic reversal since the 51st state rhetoric.
I agree. And people are coming together, and they're also looking at who would best represent, who's the person that could take on President Trump, that could handle the threats that he poses. And by and large, the polls all say that's Mark.
So how does the mood feel like in your office, in the Liberal Party of Canada, the mood since this, again, polls, if I believe polls, I told at the time, I can't remember how old she was, but my oldest daughter, I remember telling her at like 7:30 p.m. on election night in 2016, I remember telling her, like, this is a big night. I'm like, a woman is going to be president of the United States of America. Like, I had that chat with her because of the polls. Like I had
Remember that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I still remember I was watching all the channels, but coming upon CNN and John at the board, and Hillary had it in the bag, and
It was
all
like, I think 538 or whatever had it at like 95% or something. That Hillary was going to
everybody was wrong.
Yeah.
Everybody
so
was
that's why
wrong.
I don't even, I'm saying that the polls have reversed, even though I personally, the only poll that matters is in the voting booth.
Yeah, it's, you're absolutely right about that, but it's what people are talking about and what they're saying. I don't know about all the polls, but when, you're in the streets, if you're on the subway, if you're, at a school waiting to pick up your kid and having a conversation, what are people saying? And there is a certain zeitgeist. There's a certain feeling right now that wasn't there some weeks ago.
So let's talk about you for a moment. So you, member of parliament for Toronto Centre.
Yes.
And you, again, so if I remember correctly, there's a by-election in 2020?
You're right. There was a by-election. Bill Morneau had resigned. And so there was a by-election in 2020. We won that by-election. And then soon after, we had the election in 2021, summer 21.
I mean, I think I got this right, but I remember the leader of the Green Party,
Anna May Paul, yes.
yes, she was in the riding, and you won that in 2020. And then in 2021, I remember your win was significantly larger.
Yes. So in 2020, there was a lot going on, especially, with Bill, and remember, it was also the pandemic.
Right.
So is anyone coming out to vote? So yes, we won, but it wasn't by a large margin, and we had a lot of work to do. And I'd like to say we did that work. We were in community. We listened to what people needed and wanted. And then came the election some months later in 21. And larger margin. And Enemy had run again in that election as well.
Right. So how are you feeling when we do, if at some point, obviously no election has been called. Actually, maybe this is my first question. So let's say, and I don't know who will win the Liberal leadership race, but Mark Carney seems to be the favorite. Let's say he wins.
Okay.
And by the way, I will say again, as Citizen Mike, that I think the best chance to beat Pierre Poilievre in the upcoming election, whenever it's called, is Mark Carney. Like, I feel like if you just, who is the leader of the Liberal Party with the best chance, again, just speaking for myself, the best chance to beat Pierre Poilievre in this election, I think that's Mark Carney. That's how I feel.
If we look at the polls, that's what they say.
So
if we believe the polls, Mike.
So let's say once, I don't know, what day is this? What day in March do we have the new leader of the Liberal Party?
The 9th.
9th, okay. Are you hoping the next prime minister of this country calls an election immediately? Like, would you like to see an election called right away?
That would be up to the leader. Listen, what I will tell you is that I'm ready. I'm ready either way. Whether it's the next day, whether it's 2 weeks, 2 months, we're ready.
Okay, well, that's exactly what I was going to ask is, are you ready for the next election, whenever it is in 2025?
We are ready. Yeah, we're ready. We've been getting ready for some. You have to do that. If you're a minority government, you always have to be ready because you just don't know. It's been so contentious. It had been so contentious in the House that, the thought had to be the government could fall at any time. So you have to be ready. You've got to be on your toes. And we are.
Got him on your toes. Okay. I'm going to ask you about being Minister for Women and Gender Equality and Youth, but I do have a question from Chris Drew.
Oh my gosh, Chris. Hi, Chris.
So you know Chris? Okay.
Yes.
He comes out to TMLX events.
And he loves your show, by the way.
Yeah. Well,
he said you're
he's
his
at
favorite.
the listener experiences. So we have these TMLX events, which are Toronto Mike listener experiences. And I will take this opportunity to tell everybody, including you, Marci, that the next TMLX event, which will be TMLX 18, is scheduled for June 26, 2025. And it's going to be at Great Lakes Brewery here in Southern Etobicoke. And if you just drop by between 6 and 9 p.m., not only is your first beer on the house, delicious fresh craft beer from GLB. By the way, Marci, I've got some fresh craft beer for you, courtesy of Great Lakes Brewery.
Thank you.
James Maloney, big fan of GLB.
Oh my gosh, James is the best.
I was at the flag ceremony and I was chatting him up, and we were actually talking about how much we love Great Lakes beer. So
he's amazing.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. Great MP.
Great MP. He's my MP here. So the good news is at this TMLX event on June 26th, Palma Pasta, they're in Mississauga and Oakville. They're a family-run shop, just like GLB.
I love the promotion of all these Canadian
and
businesses.
They're like, super hyper-local, Canadian-owned and operated. And Palma Pasta will feed us all. Like, they're gonna, you come hungry, you will leave full of delicious Palma Pasta if you come to TMLX. Again, free event. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I don't charge you any money. You just drop by, we all hang out, we talk, you can meet other FOTMs, and you get some Italian food, delicious Italian food, and you get
Is FOTM friend of Toronto Mike?
Yeah, you're an FOTM.
Okay.
Even via Zoom. I'll count
via
that.
Zoom.
Speaking of hyper-local family-run operations, Brad Jones owns and operates Ridley Funeral Home here in New Toronto, and he sent over a measuring tape for you, Marci, because you never know if you need to measure something.
Oh, thank you. It's so cute. This is great.
Look at this. You didn't know you get that kind of swag if you come on the agenda.
This is awesome swag.
Does CBC give you this kind of swag? That's what I need to know. Okay. Chris Drew, good guy. Question from a constituent. What's your favorite local small business to have dinner at in Toronto Centre? And wouldn't it be awesome if we had more passenger train choices between Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, and Quebec City, and at higher speeds and reliability with via high frequency rail? So two things going on there, very different things. Talk about the, where would you recommend an independent place in your riding?
I would say Familia on Amelia Street. In Cabbage Town. It's fabulous.
What time should I meet you there?
Tanya and Todd run the place, and it's great. Speaking of pasta, it's great, and pizza. They do it up right.
I love pizza.
Yeah, no, they do it well there, and you would love it. And it's cute, it's quaint. Again, Familia, it's F apostrophe and then Amelia, and it's on Amelia Street. It's wonderful.
Okay, you had me at pizza.
Oh yeah, they're good.
Now, what can we get this high speed?
Chris, I believe Chris. There's a press conference that's probably happening right about now.
And we're going live
with the Minister of Transport that's discussing that right now. So he might be pleasantly pleased.
Who is the Minister of Transport?
Anita Anand.
And who's the Minister for Women and Gender Equality and Youth?
Do you see my hand up? That would be me.
Okay. Please tell us what that entails. Just us normies need to understand exactly what falls in that realm.
So with regards to women, everything women. And so that means entrepreneurship, that means gender-based violence, that means inclusivity. And so my portfolio basically has everything to do with everyone else's. It intersects with everyone else's. So that's the women's side of things. Gender equality means just that, but it also includes all genders. So I have the 2S LGBTQ Secretariat under my purview as well. And then youth are youth across this country, and the age range is 15 to 30, although I like to address a little bit younger. So some of our programs start at 12.
And how are we doing as a country when it comes to equality for women and in this country? How are we doing?
Well, we're doing well. We're doing well. We've got.
You're doing better than I am at asking that question.
Yeah,
I'm like, Canada AM is not calling me. Like, we're bringing you back, Mike.
No.
Okay.
We're doing well, Mike. I mean, we could always do better, but as a government, we have got gender equity when it comes to wages, and when it comes to the childcare program across this country, some interesting numbers came out. We've now got, I want to say, is it 87% of women working, and some of them re-entering the workforce because of childcare. $10 a day childcare is making a big difference, and experts are actually linking that program to more women getting into the workplace because they can afford to. So that is amazing. There's also intersections here. So dealing with Indigenous women, racialized women, women with disabilities, and then people in the 2S LGBTQ community, and creating programs that uplift those communities and help those communities as well. Young people, the unemployment rate is definitely not where we want it to be, but we've got some really good programs that set kids up with the right skills that they need, mentorship opportunities they need, volunteer opportunities within community to build confidence, and get them out started in a right place, in a grounded place. So we're doing well. Lots more to do, but we're getting there.
You got a spot in the cabinet there relatively quickly.
You think so?
Because 2020 is your first time as an elected official. 2020, right?
Yes.
You were in media. We
Yes.
talked. You were busy on Circle Square as a 10-year-old or whatever. But yeah, I feel so. What is the plan? Like, what is your personal political plan? Is it you're gonna kick ass as an MP for your riding, and at some point, possibly when Mark Carney steps down, would you take a run at the leadership of your Liberal Party?
Listen, you asked
crystal ball.
You asked that question like I had a plan at the get-go, and I didn't.
You never had a moment.
I didn't even have a moment. I didn't even plan to be here. I didn't plan to be in politics.
Right.
So things happen. I embrace them. I live. I learn. And there's never been a plan with regards to this career. There was with the last one. There hasn't been with this, but it's been amazing.
What was the plan of the last one? To get the Lisa LaFlamme job?
No, to get the Canada AM job. Like that's the job. That was the job I wanted. That was the job that I loved. Are you kidding? There was nothing better to be able to chat with people and do, yes, the hard news, but also do really fun stuff too. Meet so many amazing people. That was the job. That was the pinnacle. And then the social was a cherry on top.
What time did you have to wake up for Canada AM?
So there were different years. So the years that I was solely the news anchor, I got up at 2:30 in the morning. because I had to be in the studio earlier than everybody else because I was preparing a newscast. And that meant checking in with various bureaus around the world. And so I had to check in with the bureau chiefs, see what was happening around the world, and then write that newscast that had to be ready for AM. So I was there earlier than most. And then when I was co-host, it was probably a half hour later, but a half hour later.
Sorry, what time are we talking about?
3 o'clock in the morning.
3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So could
get
you
into
watch
the studio for 4.
But could you watch Canada versus USA at 8 p.m. on a Thursday?
See, this is where I didn't sleep for 15 years, Mike, because I did anyway.
It sounds horrible.
But I did anyway.
I know it's a
I
dream.
tried to do all the things because I had a family. I had friends that I had to see, and they didn't have to be at work for 4 a.m. So I stayed up. I was watching all sorts of sports and going to live sports and doing all the things because I didn't want to give up that aspect of my life, but it meant very little sleep, which wasn't great, but it meant very, very little sleep.
Well, Eric wrote in, another listener who's excited to hear your in-person debut, Eric with a K, and he writes, he wanted to know, like, what do you miss about getting up at the crack of dawn for AM TV? So now that you've had, 5 years almost in political life, do you miss your old media life?
I do sometimes. I do, and that is the honest answer. I do miss chatting with people like this. I still chat, but it's
come by every
different.
week if you want, Marci. More
You better
lasagna
be
for you.
careful. I'll be knocking at your door going, I just need to talk to you, Mike. I just need to sit down.
No, I'm pretty easygoing actually. If there's a knock at the door and Marci's at the door, I'm like, come on in.
That's great. That's good to know. Open invitation.
Yeah.
But I do miss it sometimes. I miss that kind of conversation and the curiosity and listening and understanding people's lives. I love that.
Very interesting career progression. It's kind of unique that, we talked about Seamus and there's others out there who had like the media careers and then segued over into political careers. Peter Kent.
Yes.
Who has been in this, slummed it in the basement, Ralph. Ralph, if you're listening.
So if you're throwing around names like Peter Kent and Kathleen Wynne, this is obviously not a slumming it in the
Marci
basement.
Ien.
Yeah, whatever. But this is not a slumming it in the basement. This is a cute little place.
It's not just Charlie Angus who drops by here, but absolutely. Okay. Did I mention Palma is giving you a lasagna? Like, it's in my freezer right now. I have
What do you mean?
Like, it's a frozen lasagna.
I now have dinner for my kids tonight.
It's going to be dinner tonight and leftovers for tomorrow. How many kids you got?
That's awesome. I have 2.
And
One's 20 and one's 13.
Okay, so we both have 20-year-olds.
Yeah, and my 20-year-old usually doesn't live with me. He's usually on campus, but it's reading week.
My 20-year-old doesn't live with me. She's on
home.
campus.
There you go. So she's home for reading week. Is yours on reading week?
No, I don't think so.
No?
I mean, she's not here. I feel like maybe she's not coming back. I don't know. I actually don't know. She's at McGill.
Okay.
So I don't know.
McGill may not have reading week right now.
Okay. What university is your kid?
TMU. She's in Toronto.
TMU.
Yeah.
Okay. We call this the Toronto Mike universe.
There you go.
When
So
you say
same
TMU,
thing.
it's
Yeah.
very confusing. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So you do miss the media life. And,
I do sometimes, yeah.
I can imagine that. And Eric had a follow-up question, which I'm interested in, is we talked about like the cesspool that is X now. And a lot of that is because you assume the persona of your owner. And I don't know, do you drive a Tesla?
No, I do not, and never have.
Okay, but let's say you had bought a Tesla 8
That
years
would never
ago.
have happened.
Before
Mike,
we...
that never would have happened.
All right, no Tesla here.
No.
I was seeing the video of Sheryl Crow giving up her Tesla
Oh my gosh.
and donating the money to NPR.
Yeah.
And then I produce a show for Humble and Fred, and Humble Howard, he bought a Tesla last year. Like, he bought a new Tesla.
So what's he doing with it?
He's reasoned with himself that Elon Musk didn't make it. People made it or something. Like, he's basically figured out a way where he can enjoy his Tesla.
But Tesla equals Elon Musk.
I know. Well, that's so does X though.
Yeah.
Like so
Yeah.
we talked about what it's like on X, and they've adopted this. Elon Musk. My goodness, oh gosh, we need more hours for this. But the question specifically is, how do you, Marci Ien, how do you deal with political trolls? Like, I can only imagine what it's like for an MP for the Liberal Party. When my 10-year-old tells me about the flag he saw that says "fuck Trudeau."
Yeah.
Like, this is the age we're living in.
Yeah. And you know what? Your kids saw that. Imagine, Prime Minister Trudeau's kids, because they see it too. Right. So there's that. But, when I was a journalist, I used to make it my business, Mike, to respond to everybody. I just thought, well, if people are taking the time, even if they disagree with me,
right,
I need to, respond, and, they don't have to agree, but at least we can respect each other. Those were the old days. Now, I don't respond. And it takes every fiber in my being not to, because I want to, but I know that, you know, a lot of this is trolls and all the things, except when they come after my family. And
Right.
that has happened. And that is when, you know, higher authorities are involved, because my kids never need to be a part of any kind of trolling action. So when it comes to my family, any member of it, and people being disrespectful in that way, that's when I act. Other than that, I'm hardly on X.
I'm with
hardly,
you.
I'm hardly on it.
But forever that was out of bounds, right? Like,
Forever it's been out of bounds, but I just find that people are just taking shots where they need not these days.
but
And
I think this is because of the rise of Trump, and then of course he was president 2016, as we talked about, and now they liked it so much they're giving him another go. Except this time he wins the popular vote.
Yeah.
Like this is a much bigger mandate than the
It
first
is.
time.
It is. And people get brave behind their computer screens, don't they?
Well, I think it's been normalized somehow because of the dirty way they play down there. And we talked about Elon Musk, but people are being doxxed. You know, we don't like this guy. I don't know. This guy came at Trump for something legitimate or whatever. And now this is where he lives and this is where his kid
I
works and
know.
stuff. Like it's actually horrific.
It's dangerous.
And there's no checks and balances left really. And I'm talking about the States right now. But I feel like there are Canadians who absorb and take in a lot of American news, and they see this, and maybe they're watching a lot of Fox News or whatever, and they sort of now think this is okay now. Like this is how they do it there. We can do it here. And a lot of this, like the whole idea of fuck Trudeau, I blame Trump for that whole, like I feel like when I was growing up, like there was, no matter what you thought of Brian Mulroney or Jean Chrétien or whatever, you never had that kind of disrespect for the office. And now you do. And I think you as a politician with kids, I feel like it's a dangerous time, and
It is.
It's not like when Peter Kent was in politics.
No, you're absolutely right. It's changed. I was talking to a couple of colleagues, and this is back when, you know, we weren't prorogued, and they would tell me about the good old days and how it didn't matter whether you were conservative or NDP, whatever party stripe. You know, question period was question period, but then it was dinner later. You know, it was meeting up. It was meeting up for dinner.
Right.
It was, you know, sometimes meeting up. You know, during vacation time, people were friends and are friends. And I have friends on either side of the floor, but it is a toxic, toxic environment right now. It never used to be that way. It is 10 times worse. And frankly, this is why, you know, we're having a hard time. And I would think especially with women, recruiting women to run. Because they don't, people period, but women in particular, because it's not entirely not dangerous out there.
Like the compensation doesn't match the what it does to your life and the risks it entails.
And how it involves your family as well.
So
right?
why are you running again in 2025?
Because I have this overwhelming thing about service and wanting to serve. And for me, Mike, it's full circle. I was born in St. Jamestown. TMU's my alma mater. Toronto Centre is really my life, and it feels full circle. It's like, this is the place that gave my parents a chance when they emigrated from Trinidad 60-something years ago, and now I get to be there and serve this community. There's something really special about that.
But you alluded to this a moment ago, and I totally understand. It's going to be tough to recruit the next Marci Ien. Like, it is going to be tough when you see what they have to, from now on, you have to be a single person with no children, and you don't.
And even then,
right.
And even then, you're not safe, right? Even then, you're not safe. But it's true, and I never sugarcoat things when people ask me, and you know, they're thinking about delving into politics. I never do, but I also tell the stories of the change that can happen when people who care and who move with kindness, the changes that can happen with regards to policy. And how, you know, we need good people to make sure that Canada stays the kind country that it is.
At least bring back that respect you spoke about, where a member of the Conservative Party of Canada and a member of the Liberal Party of Canada can collaborate for the greater good of this nation.
I've been really fortunate because of this portfolio, right? There aren't a lot of people, Mike, that disagree that women shouldn't be violated, you know, when it comes to gender-based. So this is where we come together, right? My counterparts, my Conservative, NDP, Green counterparts, Bloc counterparts, we're on the same page when it comes to a lot of the things in my file. So that helps me greatly, and it leads to more collaborative work.
just checking in on the live stream. A lot of people enjoying the conversation. Hello to Dan J. Hello to Jay Ho, Moose Grumpy. Hello to Mark Weisblot. A lot of good people on the live stream.
That's so nice
here.
they've joined.
And most people hear it, of course, when it's a podcast, which will be 5 minutes after our photo at the Toronto Tree. I know I promised an hour, and I know how I want to close this, but let me give some love to recyclemyelectronics.ca, because Marci, if you've got a drawer full of old cables or old devices, old electronics, everyone does.
Where am I
Some people
supposed to be taking them?
Well, you don't throw it in the garbage because those chemicals end up in our landfill. But if you go to recyclemyelectronics.ca, put in your postal code, you'll see places near you. You can just drop it off and it'll be properly recycled and keep those chemicals out of our landfill. So thank you to recyclemyelectronics.ca, who have stepped up to sponsor this program throughout 2025. So that's great news.
That's great.
Pausing for a round of applause. Okay. Also stepping up, brand new sponsor. I had him in the basement a couple of weeks ago to learn more about him. Shout out to the founder and CEO of Fusion Corp Developments, Inc. His name is Nick Iones, and he has a great new podcast called Building Toronto Skyline. He has a new book called Battle of the Skyscrapers. He talks about the skyscrapers around the world, the big ones, where they're being built. We have a couple of 300-meter skyscrapers like being built right now. I think one at like Yonge and Blue, one at like Yonge and Queens Quay, where the Toronto Star building is. They're going to put up a big one there, but there's one at Yonge and Bloor, one Bloor, I think it's called.
Yeah, it is.
And it's like 300. Well, anyways, we have some. But when you hear what they're doing in the Middle East, you'll say, what a tiny little building you're building there, 300 meters. But all this interesting info in his new book, Battle of the Skyscrapers. Okay, you want to hear actually, let me ask you about the game tomorrow, then I'm going to play this jam for you. Do you have a prediction? What will the score be tomorrow night when Canada faces USA for hockey supremacy in Boston?
3-2 Canada.
Is this going to overtime, or are we going to win a regulation?
Regulation.
Who's getting that game-winning goal?
I knew you were going to ask this.
I'm excited to hear your thoughts. No, no one can blame you if you're wrong because you don't have a crystal ball, do you? Come on. This is you'll be off the hook
Is
if
the
you're
score not enough? I don't want to jinx
All right,
us.
so let me throw it out there.
I don't want to jinx
I'm
us.
feeling, I know, there's no such thing as a jinx, Marci. Do you believe in jinxes?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. We'll talk about that next time you're over because I got an hour to talk about that. I'm going to call it. I feel Nate McKinnon. Like I'm feeling Nate McKinnon. I mean, it would be easy to say Crosby. Sorry, Crosby's the guy you're rooting for because he's the 37-year-old
I was going to say Sid.
I would love it. Like
Because
everybody would
Sid
love
shows up. Like Sid shows up for the big games, right?
that empty netter. He
That's right.
did it all.
That's what I'm saying. So like Sid shows up.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll say Sid.
Thank you.
3-2
Okay.
regulation. What if this happens, Mike?
Well, I have it recorded, and then
Oh
I will
my
put it on.
gosh.
I will put the video on social media and say Marci called it.
Okay, 3-2 Sid Crosby.
Love it. Best player in the game today. It's been fun watching him, Connor McDavid.
Oh my
That
gosh.
explosive. And my wife's from Edmonton, so
Oh,
I
is she?
did watch a lot of
All
Oilers games
respect to
last year.
Connor. Connor's got a lot of heart.
It's the yeah, and he's got a lot of skill because
Yes, he
I've
does.
never seen a player move that quickly. Like it's unbelievable when he gets that speed behind him. No one can skate like that.
We've
gonna
got
be fun.
We've got a good team. It's going to be fun. It is. It's going to be fun.
I can't wait. Now, will Justin? I don't know. Maybe you don't know, but will Justin Trudeau be in Boston tomorrow for this final?
I don't know, but that's a good question.
Does he take your text? Let's text him live on the air here. Okay. So, Marci, you've been amazing. The first time we met, I promised an hour. I'm going to deliver on that promise, and I can't wait to finally get a photo with you by Toronto Tree. But I am going to close with a song, okay?
Okay.
A Toronto anthem, if you will. You ready?
I'm ready.
This is a throwdown,
I knew you were
a
gonna do this.
showdown. Hell no,
You
I
called
can't
my
slow
shot.
down.
I
It's
called
gonna
it.
Go.
First offense.
On the mix. Come on. Everybody.
Okay, party people.
Scarborough's greatest.
May I have your attention, please?
In a moment, the beat will be played in many parts.
I was looking at that. That's a classic vinyl. That's great. This brings back some amazing times.
This jam is amplified, so just glide and let your backbone slide.
Marci Ien, I almost did this during our first Zoom, but I thought maybe one day she'll be in the basement and it'll be better if she's
And
in
here
the
I
basement.
am.
Here you are. Okay. You're listening to one of Toronto's anthems, Let Your Backbone Slide, by Maestro Fresh-Wes, 1989. And you can't forget what year, because
89. Oh my god.
he name checks the year in
He
the
does
song,
name check the year.
which I appreciate, actually. So I'm going to hold it up for the camera. This is I bought this 12-inch in 1989.
Where did you buy it? Do you remember?
Yeah, Wellesley and Young Soundscape, it was called. It had a name like that. I used to buy all my 12 inches there. Now I can't even play the damn thing because I don't have a record player anymore.
What?
I know. But I do have my vinyl, and I got Maestro.
You've got a good collection over there.
Well, it's growing. I just can't play any of it, but that's okay. But tell me what you're thinking of as you listen to Maestro Fresh-Wes.
Oh my gosh, these were great times in Scarborough. There was a place. It was a wing place at Kennedy and Shepherd in Scarborough, and I want to say Wes, Farley, Flex, like a bunch of the guys. A lot of them went to Leacock, Lamoureux. They all worked there. So one of the coaches, I think it was Leacock, it might have been Leacock's football coach or something, was part owner, and he hired all his guys. Yeah. And on a Wednesday night or a Tuesday night, it would be like just throwdown, like rap battles, like all sorts of stuff. And it brings me back to that time. What a time that was. What a time that was.
So how well did you know the Maestro?
Very well. We were very, very good friends. What are you asking, Mike?
I don't. It's personal business. I don't want to pry. You're an honorable person.
No.
I literally put that in your title. I wondered how well you knew Maestro Fresh-Wes, who's a great FOTM himself, and many. I mentioned Gen X earlier. The Gen Xers listening right now know every word of this song.
Yeah, every single
and
word.
They're rapping along right now. And I have had Ed Keenan from the Toronto Centre in this basement where we did this entire song.
Are you serious?
Just spontaneously, we just did it because we know every word of this song.
Because that's what you have to do. I mean, if you're from Toronto, you know how important this song is.
I just wondered how well you knew Maestro, that's all.
Very, very well. Very, very well. Haven't talked to him in quite a few years, but very well.
Do you have any pull with Maestro? Can you get him back to Toronto? He left Toronto.
I do not have pull. He's in New Brunswick, right? Yeah. I have not talked to him in years, but I will, I'll see what I can do. I know people who know people.
But enough about DJ Ron Nelson.
Look at you throwing Ron's name out there.
He's a legend, man.
Back in the day.
Absolutely. Dream Warriors recorded and the legacy begins in his home studio.
Oh my gosh.
In a way, he's a big inspiration to me. Like, so he had
Love Dream
something
Warriors.
like this. King Lou and Capital Q just came down his stairs one day and dropped some tracks.
Love
Kish.
it.
Do you remember Kish?
Yes, I remember Kish.
Order from Chaos was also... DJ Ron Nelson was the man. Fantastic Voyage, CKLN.
Oh my gosh.
Come on.
We are really of the same time.
And shout out to the queen of hip hop, who I love, Mishi Me.
Mishi Me is the greatest. Yeah, the greatest. Remember Concert Hall? Did you go to any of those concerts?
No, but those are the DJ... Okay, so DJ Ron Nelson comes over. We have a great chat about all this. And he goes, I knew hip hop was reaching a white audience when a guy came up to me after one of the hip hop shows at the Concert Hall and gave me a bunch of money. And then DJ Ron Nelson's like, what's this money for? And he goes, that's your cut of t-shirt sales. And he said, the white people bought t-shirts.
That's how you know you've made it, right?
And that's why white people like me know every word to Maestro Fresh-Wes.
And
like so you knew him pretty well? Is that what you're saying?
Very well.
Okay. We're going to leave it at that?
We'll leave it at that.
And that brings us to the end of our 1,634th show.
It was so much fun to be with you.
Where should people follow you? Like, you are on Instagram? Where are you? I know your social media, man. Do you want to tell people how to keep up with what's going on, Marci? Yeah, get on that mic. Get on that mic.
Go ahead, Hanan.
Instagram is one of the best places. She responds often
I do.
to DMs.
I've been sliding in those DMs.
I do.
So that's Marci Ien. No spaces, just full name.
Okay, I'm going to tag that Instagram account when I post this in 10 minutes.
Okay,
Instagram's where you go. We're going to be on Blue Sky soon, though.
We'll be on Blue Sky soon.
The exclusive here. I don't know what that Minister of Transportation is announcing, but we got the big announcement here. Marci Ien's coming to Blue Sky. That's what matters here. Go to torontomike.com for all your Toronto Mike needs. Much love again to all who made this possible. That's Great Lakes Brewery. Yeah, I'm serious. That beer's yours. Fresh craft beer brewed right here in Southern Etobicoke.
Thank you.
Palma Pasta. And I was serious. I have a lasagna in my freezer for you. That's
Thank
no
you,
joke.
Palma Pasta.
RecycleMyElectronics.ca. Building Toronto Skyline, and Ridley Funeral Home. See you all. I have to go to my calendar, Marcy, because I didn't prep this because I was very busy.
That's okay.
I had toast yesterday. I'm going to find out who the next guest is on Toronto Mike. So, next, great. Next is tomorrow at 10 a.m. at live.torontomike.com. I have the official historian of the Toronto Mike podcast, Jeremy Hopkin, in the basement. We always do a top 10 this, that, Toronto history. It's amazing. Can't wait to see J-Ho. See you all then.